Modoff is beginning to pull away. The drivers have seen this snowball forming before. As it rolls down the mountain, few have been able to catch up to the impending avalanche of wins. Can anyone do something to stop the momentum? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 5 of the PRL GTE Sportscar series, and you'll see it all live here on the global sim racing channel and the iRacing eSports network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Ossian Puhaka. Behind the scenes is our director, Jay Kennedy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Watkins Glen has been a regular on the GTE schedule for quite some time now. Drivers are familiar, but just in case some of our viewers are new to the sport, we've got our handy track guide to show you the ins and outs of this famous facility. Welcome to Watkins Glen International. Situated in upstate New York, just south of the Finger Lakes, this track has seen it all. Few road circuits can boast hosting Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and IMSA during its history. Though it did have a brief fallow period in the early 80s, thanks to the investment of local companies, it's grown into one of the premier road tracks in the U.S. With 4 layouts to choose from that range between 2.5 and 3.5 miles in length, lap times can vary greatly. But it also means it's suitable for lots of different levels of racing, from amateur to pro. The one thing that stays consistent no matter which car and which layout you're using is that Watkins Glen means speed. Many of the straights are very long, and the majority of the corners are fast sweepers. Some of them include a surprising amount of banking as well. Combine that with the proximity of the barriers, and this historic circuit retains a very old-school feel. Drivers in lesser-powered cars can expect drafting battles, while higher-powered machinery will test the skill and bravery of their pilots. Some of the turns are visually iconic, such as the carousel and the S's. Others, like the inner loop, the chute, and turn 9, greatly challenge even the expertly skilled. And of course, we haven't even mentioned the drastic amount of elevation change drivers experience. Between its rich history and popularity among drivers, this track stays busy and seems likely to be that way for a long, long time. You see a few of the views around here as we are getting ready for what is halfway through the season. And as we were saying, Ossian, it seems like this track is going to offer some opportunities for Modov to really carry things over well. But you seem to think it's easy. I seem to think it's hard. I don't know. What do you think Modov thinks as we go through the details?
Oh, I think Modov thinks that he's watching the practice times right now and he's watching the qualifying times and he thinks, maybe I don't need to be so fast on qualifying pace here. Of course, they got 12 turns to go through, 5.5 kilometers, which is 3.4 miles here. And the track temp, that is quite interesting. It is currently hovering around 300 Kelvin, 28 Celsius, that I believe is around 75 Fahrenheit. Mostly cloudy weather. But yeah, Watkins Glen, it's an interesting challenge. It is a draft track. I consider it a draft track, but where the challenge comes from, well, you got a lot of fast corners, you got a lot of cars racing together, and you got a lot of opportunities to get it wrong, Joe.
I know that very well myself. But before we get into the championship itself, as always, today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between these two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsport fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at simsa.net. Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. The winner of Division 1 here in the PRL GTE Sports Car Series will get a ButtKicker Gamer 2 or a simulation kit. Also, both drivers of the winning team in the team's championship will get a free t-shirt. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Now, let's go over the Drivers' Championship first before we get to that team's championship, starting with the top of the points. I said it before, Karl Modhoff leading the way. Now, he's got a little bit of a gap. It's not huge compared to what you'd expect with 3 wins out of 4 rounds. Jesse Stevens definitely keeping him honest. It's back to Stephen Ash, who's still looking for a podium in this series, that is bringing up 3rd place in the points. And then back to Michael Ross, just a few more where he's got a hard-fought little battle going on with Rodrigo Mies, who unfortunately has fallen down to 5th place because of his DNF last week. Hopefully he doesn't have those problems this time around. Let's go to the team's championship now and see how that's shaping up.
Indeed, if it is getting a little bit wider, the gaps on the Drivers' Championship, in the Team's Championship, it is mighty close indeed. In the lead, full send racing with Mac Miller and Stephen Ash with 172 points, just 6 points behind Jesse Stevens, Jason Hodgson, Radicals Online. P number 3 and P number 4, it is the Punto CL Racing Red and Punto CL Racing Blue squads, and rounding out your top 5, it is GDR, Ventus, Rensport, SET, and all those top 5 teams, well, Joe, they are within 23 points.
I like to see that close fight, especially this far into the season. But speaking of being this far into the season, why don't we take a look at the race details? Because as we mentioned, this is round 5 out of 10 that we are on. They have 4 different makes of cars, with them all being GTE class cars that they can choose from here on iRacing. Race distance, as always, is 60 minutes long, which means you can expect a single pit stop for fuel to take place. And they have open setups on these cars. So it is up to these teams to really help one another try and find speed, something that you can do in that teamwork here in the virtual world. That is a big help. Also, you can see that they have the, well, that is actually a stop and go, not a drive through, that they have at 13 incidents, and then they're disqualified at 20 incidents, which means they will literally disappear from the track immediately as soon as they hit that 20 number. And some bonus points down at the bottom that are up for grabs. That's what they're fighting for right now, because the pole position offers you some of those bonus points. We'll get to that in just a moment. Before we talk about the iRacing eSports Network, of course, and how it's once again brought to you on here. Make sure and subscribe to the channel. Very easy to do so. If you just go below the video here on IESN, there's a big red button that says subscribe. Click that, and you won't miss a moment here on the iRacing eSports Network. At the top of that qualifying, Jesse Stevens right now, who's just taking back out onto the track. And we saw these gaps before, Aussie, and it's almost half a second. It's a little smaller than what it was in qualifying, but you seem to think that Modhoff was sandbagging, and it's kind of looking like it here.
Yeah, I mean, Modhoff has no reason to really be, super fast here. Of course, pole position is a pole position, but he knows that this is the kind of race where he can't run away on lap 1, lap 2 from the likes of Stevens or Rubilar or Mies or Eisler or Ash. They're going to be really close up to him on the first couple of laps. Now, a real surprise I want to talk about so far, at least. Look at P number 3. Car number 67, Michael M. Ross. He's been consistently improving during the course of the season, but we haven't really seen him be this fast on qualifying pace, despite him being 14 points. He hasn't been a qualifying masterclass. Can he turn around today with his 4GD? And one more thing I should remind you of, Karl Modhoff mentioned last week after a Spa race, the 4GDs are really fast here.
And Ross just put it in 3rd with his most recent lap, less than, well, just over half a tenth back from Karl Modhoff. So very tightly packed there, right behind Karl, because we have no separation over a couple hundredths, all the way down to, looks like Justin Raymond's the first one that's got more than a tenth, and that's between 9th and 10th. That should tell you just how tight it is in this field in qualifying. Can see Stevens still leading the way with that half a second. He did not improve his time last time by. There he comes around the 90 up the hill, going way wide up there. You talked about it being a draft track, and Well, Stevens is actually in a Ford here today, so I wonder if that is going to help him try and get away from those drivers that are going to be looking to hold on to those coattails.
Well, the Ford really isn't that much faster on a straight line. It's more about how planted it is, how it feels a bit more like an open wheeler, and how good that Ford is on fast corners. Then you look at Watkins Glen. What do we have here? A lot of fast corners, a lot of cambered corners. We watch Stevens. He's coming into the chute, and then he will come into the toe and to the heel of the boot. So even this one, even the toe corner, which is 180-degree corner, you normally think it's a hairpin, but his speed will not really drop below 80 miles an hour here. So that's a medium speed corner at best. And all the other corners, well, they are mighty fast indeed. So the downforce of that Ford and the design of that Ford, it's gonna make it feel very planted, and as such, the car will be very fast. So I think Jesse, if he keeps together, he has a really good chance of win out here today, but that's gonna need him to really keep it together, Joe. Because honestly, we've seen what happened in past few weeks. We've seen Jesse getting a little bit over the edge, so I hope we see a change of that in round number 5.
Now, we've also got an interesting development in the team's championship. Remember, Full Send was leading that, like you were reporting there, Aussie. And Mac Miller, one of those, he's all the way down in 26th right now. And with Stephen Ash being the other one on his team, who's not doing too bad in 7th, it seems like Miller's the one that's really got to try and start pulling his weight here.
Yeah, indeed. If it stays like this, Steven's gonna have a whole lot of back pain after this race from carrying Mac Miller into that points lead once more. A little bit of improvement from Mac now, but he's still in 21st. Like that's not excellent from Mac. So I wonder what's wrong with him, or is it just a case of the Porsche simply not being good out there today?
Yeah, and he immediately pulled over and is trying to come back in to see if he can get one more lap going, but he's lacking time here. He's going to have to really hustle to get around. We've only got about 1:50 left on the clock, and they run about 1:41, 42 on their laps. So we watch Time Jr. come across the line, currently in 24th. He also does not find improvement. Apologies for a couple technical difficulties today. We're trying to get those things sorted out. Hopefully we'll have it all smoothed over and ready to go by the green flag. So we watch one of our Ferraris come through. Hodgson sitting in 20th. He's close to finishing, just up to that wall on the exit of the final corner. He's got to beat a 43.3 here. He's not going to do it that time, it seems.
Yeah, and I'm just watching Maxwell with his silver hammer going out at our audio cables, so I hope they're fixed now. Sometimes you need some rougher measures to get these things working together, but of course we at GSRC try to bring you the best quality broadcasts possible. Carmodov on a lap right now. I think I saw him get under the clock here, so he should be fine for one more lap after this, I reckon. In any case, he is now dropped down to P number 3, Eisler, getting a good lap in and promoting himself to 2nd place. So that's a bit of caution between Stevens and Modov actually going wide in the heel. So that I think he's gonna at least drop his lap time, if not completely disqualify him. So you can see him weaving around a little bit on the run up to the penultimate corner, and then into the last corner he's gonna get just under the clock for one more hot lap here. Car Modov, what can he do with the Porsche? We see the Porsche drivers being a little bit off pace at Watkins Glen, so even with Car, even with his 3 wins, even with how he's dominated this series so far, well, it's gonna be a long uphill to climb.
Jeff Carollo is going to be the first to take the checkered flag because the other 2 cars that were going to get there before him abandoned their final laps. Carollo, it's a 52.3. That's definitely not going to do it for him. A slow final lap. Hodgson next in 20th. Number 73 comes out of that final corner, still on that 43.3 we saw earlier, and he's also not happy as he pulls over. So now comes our pole sitter looking to extend the gap. Can he demoralize everyone here?
Jesse Stevens, 141.8, remember, he's coming across the line, and he improves, but only by a little. And I'm watching Modov, meanwhile, on my other monitor here, and he is He's just absolutely on the limit here on this lap. He already went to the grass once, but just touched it. I don't think that was an off track because he's still going on, and there's not a single inch left unused on the track. He's right on the rugged edge.
We watch him come out of the boot now. I've got my eyes on Duhamel, who's in 26. He is going to finish his last lap in the 6:17. Let's see if he improves. Nope, he does not. Kyle Strykars, who's also in 17th. We keep the cameras on Carl just to watch and see if he has a mistake. Strykars elects not to take his final lap. Tremblay does. And Tremblay on a 53.5 his last time is not going to go any quicker. Where's Modoff? Into the pits is where he is.
Yeah, not going to count that one. But his last lap was looking really good. I think he was just trying to get in the mood, you know. The racing lines really precise here at Watkins Glen. So you have to really practice them. So don't put a wheel wrong, don't put a wheel in the grass. We've seen before what happened to Churchill.
Yeah, and the barriers are very, very close around here, so putting the wheels off certainly could spell the end of a race quite quickly at this track. Everybody has completed their qualifying at this point. Modoff, one of the last to get across the line. So let's go through that starting order. Jesse Stevens on the pole. Christian Eisler demotes Carl Modoff, interestingly. Could Eisler get back for a victory? Carl Modoff starts P3 with the outside of row 2, having Michael Ross in one of those threatening Fords. It's Nicholas Rubelar starting P5 and Rodrigo Mies in 6 today. Stephen Ash starts in 7th. To his outside, it's going to be Brandon Wilson in P8. Horatio Calquin starts 9th, and Justin Rame is in 10th.
Christopher Pfeffer starting 11th. Alongside him will be Rafa Russo. 13th, Ignacio Rodriguez Fredes. 14th, Sean Romick. 15th, Anthony Pisano. 16th, Andres Espinosa. 17th, Kyle Strykarts. 18th, Brett Turman. 19th, Ken Huber. And 20th, Jason Hodgson. And after that, I believe, Joe, you got some surprising names for us.
Yeah, Mac Miller all the way down to 21st. He didn't improve. Ted Lowendick starting 22nd. And then the next row has Jeff Carollo to the inside in P23. Jean-Marc Tremblay, a little bit lower than we're used to seeing from him in 24th. Luis Pime Jr. starting P25. Sean Duhamel stays in 26th, not able to improve on his final lap. Jay Steffi in 27th. And Dave Peterson in 28th. Last two drivers to put a qualifying time in are Donald Olson and Lawson Christie. We'll see Zach Broderick and Kenny Rodriguez in the final row, but I do not see Zach Broderick in the session right now, so I don't believe he's going to be able to start this race unless he comes in late and starts from the pit lane. There's the track temperatures up there. Not anything drastic today. Kind of a nice mild day for racing, just under 80 degrees air temperature and just over 80 degrees on the track surface itself, with maybe a little bit of wind, but shouldn't affect these cars too much, I have to imagine. Before we get going racing, we've got this pace lap to go through, and this should give us a good chance to talk about that orange zone in this race, because it's a pretty decent portion of the lap here.
Yeah, it's all the way from the start-finish straight to the exit of the what I like to call the bus stop chicane. Really, it has official names. I think it's called inner loop officially, but I like to call it the bus stop because it is a bus stop type of chicane. You know, you got the double kink and then a bit of a straight and then another double kink. So it's designed to slow cars down, introduced after the tragic NASCAR race in 1990, and since then it's been in heavy use. But yeah, orange zone, that means the drivers cannot do too much, and we've seen many accidents at the SS here on Watkins Glen. We've also seen many accidents on the first proper braking zone into turn number 1, as well as into the inner loop. So I think it's a solid decision, you know. Give the drivers a bit of hesitation before they go for that move. Don't go 3 wide onto the SS on lap number 1 on cold tires, please. And, you know, just a good idea in general. And I really, from what I've watched from these Precision Racing League events, from what I watched of the championship, it is a really a great introduction to the series. As also Brandon Wilson, I must say, with car number 10, he's pulled back into the pit lane after turn number 1. So all of the fans of Brandon Wilson, well, that's not going to be a great starting position for him. He was originally, I believe, due to start 8th.
You're right. So he's losing a lot of track position here with that unfortunate development. You talked about the inner loop. I actually did find out it is labeled the bus stop on some maps out there. So you're not alone. I think you can kind of give it a co-name. You can call it the inner loop or the bus stop, depending on your choice. Which we're coming up to it now, and Stevens is going to guide us through.
Yeah, I would love for them to park Greyhound. You know, one of those old slapshot style 70s Greyhounds on the infield of the bus stop chicane to properly make it a bus stop. I think they should do it. And I don't know why they haven't done. Oh, probably because it's not very safe, but you know. It would be a great marketing opportunity.
I was just going to say, yeah, you're talking sponsorship deals right there. So you need to start talking to some people and get them on the ball. So watch the rest of the field now come out of there into what is called the outer loop, but also has another name, sometimes called the carousel. The thing that surprises me about this track that I think is unique in this day and age, especially, how much banking there is on a lot of these corners on a road course. You don't see that as much anymore. Positive camber.
Yeah, you see negative camber in many circuits like Coda, for example. The SS, they are infamous for their difficulty because some genius decided to put negative camber on a road course because they thought, oh, it's gonna be more challenging that way. Drivers love a challenge. No, we don't. Just saying, no, we don't if it feels like it's not a rightful challenge. Anyway, a lot of camber, and that's gonna affect tire wear, but that's also gonna make the corners faster than they seem like at first. I think the toe of the boot is a great example of that one, as well as the heel of the boot, even if that doesn't have so much camber. You're looking at the corner, you're thinking, I can maybe go in there at 60, 70 miles an hour. You can do it at 80. Just fine.
Just impressive, the speeds that can be carried around this track. It is definitely a throwback to a time gone by when they made circuits. But as they come back onto the main circuit here, they're getting ready to go racing about 2 corners time. And Jesse Stevens, who's 15 points behind Karl Modoff, now starts directly in front of him, as this is his chance, potentially, to try and overtake him back. Multi-time champion that trails him. Out of the final corner, Porsche pace car is in. Jesse Stevens waiting for the green flag, which waves pretty quickly, and someone back there got a huge jump. In fact, they are sending it way up into what is potentially 5th or 6th place. I got to figure out who that is, but they might actually get looked at by the stewards with that jump start. As they come through the 90, there's a danger zone here, and someone is off. That is, looks like Pfeiffer.
Pfeiffer and Tremblay both are out in the first corner, but the rest of them continue. So Pfeiffer went 3 wide, and he got taken out, and Tremblay as well got taken out in the first corner. Pfeiffer actually lost it on his own.
Up the orange zone into the inner loop for the first time. A lot of drivers single file, but we do have more wrecking going on. Justin Rain, unfortunately, finding himself off with another car. 2 more off to the outside. It's a very messy start.
And Hodgson in the wall. They touch with Lowendick, so Hodgson is in the wall, but I think he's able to get going. Romig as well lost a lot of time. And Michael M. Ross, who started 4th, remember, he was the other car you saw. He got actually rear-ended by Justin Ram going into the bus stop.
You know who's loving this is Mies. He's up to 4th already after starting in 6th and very much threatening on Christian Eisler for the podium positions. We watched those 2 teammates climb the hill up to the heel of the boot. Mies doesn't look interested right now as he stays right in line. Behind them, though, bit of a side-by-side battle. Russo and Ash. Ash is going to get into P6 with that overtake.
Yeah, he is. And a couple of drivers losing a lot of positions. Modo up in P number 2, Eisler down in P number 3, but then it's Mies. And he's really on a roll here. Rubilar behind him going actually a little bit wide, but that's going to allow Ash and Russo to close right in on him. An entertaining first lap, and it's a real shame, in my opinion, what happened to our 4GT legend in this series, of course. But I think he's gonna get back up there, Michael M. Ross. The driver's going very wide. Oh, whoa! That's Eisler spinning at the exit of turn number 1.
It is indeed, and somehow everybody manages to avoid him, but he's stuck in a place where he can't back up because all the field is coming by, so he's going to go all the way down to dead last on the field, essentially. Look at how many have to stream through before he can finally hit reverse. Meanwhile, as we take a look at the replay, I can tell you that Karl Modoff is already catching up to Stevens. Here's the incident. Boy, great heads up by everybody to get out of the way of that one.
Yeah, careful driving, good driving here, you know, nobody's being too anxious. But we talk about the outside of turn number 1, how drivers use it. We see it in NASCAR, we see it in road racing, and it's kind of a gray area because there is not an off-track there, so you can go there by the rules. You're allowed to go there. But it's also very slippery. There's not many nasty bumps that you don't necessarily see on your TV sets, but you can very much feel them as a driver. So when you go over them, you go a little bit wide, you're a little bit too greedy going through there, you're gonna have a big time moment. And I don't think I've ever seen a race at Watkins Glen where somebody didn't lose it over that extension.
As we watch them come out of turn 9 here, we've been following Pisano and Thurman in a fight for 9th place. I'm also keeping half an eye on the trio behind them who are staying close. That's Strykars, Huber, and Lowendick.
And Pisano's in the wall.
Oh, just as I look away.
Yeah, he lost it on the curb. He lost it on the curb at the exit of the penultimate corner. Just hit the grass a little bit, hit the brakes immediately. Good job by him, being predictable. A slight nudge to the wall with his front left corner. He's able to continue, but that's not going to be great. The Porsche was already at the disadvantage here, and that's not going to improve his performance. That's for sure.
Carollo went off behind this battle as well. Huber looking closer and closer on Strykars. In fact, side by side now down the back stretch. He's going to have to go the long way around, but Strykars breaks early. He's not going to fight it hard. He's going to settle for 12th place.
Yeah, Duhamel not quite able to get through Carollo either, so he's at least able to hold on to that 16th place at this moment. But yeah, a lot of great battles early on. What I'm surprised about, Joe, is that the pack hasn't been able to stay closer yet. We've seen already some gaps forming. The leading duo has basically taken the check and run away through the bathroom window, like you do in a fine restaurant. Rodrigo Mies holding on to P number 3, Rubilar behind him, Ash behind him, Russo and Espinosa next time by, and Espinosa has lost a lot of ground, so it's a duo. And then we have Mies kind of alone, Rubilar, Ash, and Russo close together, and then again some gaps between packs.
Remind me not to go out to dinner with you, as I take a look at the timing and scoring sheets. Mac Miller up to 13th already after starting in 21st. A lot of the drivers around him have gained a lot of spots from those first lap incidents we saw from some fast drivers. Carollo's up from 23rd, by the way, himself, even though he fell back down to 16th right now. Eisler on the reverse course, he's down to 26. We see him trying to make his way back up.
Yeah, and Espinosa, I think, was the guy taking that huge start, because Russo and Espinosa are up from 12th and 16th respectively to 6th and 7th. So both of the drivers not fast in qualifying, but they are certainly in a great pace under race conditions. Espinosa under attack from Fredes, however, and Fredes has that mighty Ford GTE. Is he able to brake later? No, he is not. The Ferrari driver being able to be braver on the braking, and as such being able to hold on to the position for now. But Joe, I can tell you, they're getting mighty close, and I think Fredes is quite interested in that 7th place at this moment in time. He has had a better pace throughout this season, as I get my tongue working, than Espinosa, and he knows he's in a faster car round here than Espinosa. He's faster in qualifying than Espinosa. Now he just needs to convert it into an overtake.
Okay, I talked about brave. I feel like that Fredes is the one who was brave through the inner loop. He was so close behind Espinosa. He's backed off a little bit at this point. There's about 3 or 4 tenths between the two cars as they now come out of the heel of the boot. Russo just up the way, about 2 seconds. If they work together, they could run him down. These two are 2 quick drivers, so I wouldn't put it past them to try and gain on that number 22. Continue to ride on board with Fredes as we complete the lap. Let's see if he gets an opportunity down into the 90.
Yeah, not an easy place to overtake into, and he needs to get a slam dunk going on to her, because otherwise you will just lose your run up to the SS and not quite close enough to her.
Certainly not. So we're not missing anything up at the front. Modov's backed off of Stevens about 1.2 seconds between our leaders. Now, that's not to say that Carl isn't himself just controlling his own pace and waiting for later in this race. Mies also behind them, nearly about 2 seconds behind currently. So really, top group have spread far apart. We've switched over to Strykars instead, with Lowendick chasing Mac Miller just behind him.
Yeah, I was about to say earlier, remember Mac Miller, the guy whose qualifying performance we weren't so happy about, that perhaps disappointed the man himself too? Well, maybe, just maybe Stephen Nash doesn't have to carry him so hard in this race after all, because he was fastest of this trio last time by with a 143.8 compared to 44.3 for Strykars. And he's actually faster than Espinosa, than Fredes, than Thurman right now, so he's on a great pace. Now he just needs to get the passes done. But I think these battles, they're not getting further away from each other. If anything, they're actually closing up just a little bit. At least the Strykars pack is closing into the Huber and Thurman pack up ahead.
So that'll get interesting if we get 6 cars all in a fight for position. We're only 10 minutes into this race, so this is still very early days. Lowendick looking a little bit threatening as well. When we jump back to Pfeffer now in the number 66. We've got a replay here. What are we looking at? Pfeffer getting a nice run coming out of the toe of the boots. Does he get his nose to the inside? Look at this. No defense either from Duhamel.
Not at all. No, so he was just willing to let position by, knowing that the crowd behind is a little bit faster. Finn Huber's getting close to Thurman right now on live pictures. He's getting alongside into the bus stop. And
once
getting
again,
through.
No defense.
Yeah. I think Thurman knows the fact that, okay, he doesn't really have to pace right now. There is no point, you know, trying to make the overtake. And we talked earlier, Joe, about how Strykars stack is faster than Thurman was leading Huber around. So I think he knew the situation. He realized that there's no point battling this right now. I don't want to get into a 5-car, 6-car, 7-car battle. I want to stay in a duo. So maybe they're just going to trade positions. We'll have to wait and see. But Thurman's taking a very different line into the toe than Huber is actually. So, and into talking about the toe corner, there are 2 different lines you can take into the corner. You can either do what Brett Thurman did, take it all the way from the inside and make it a sharper corner using that camber, or you can take a more traditional racing line, which is what Ken Huber did. But there's not just one racing line around a couple of these corners, and that is definitely one of them.
Way off and into the barrier. Strykars, he was looking threatened for quite a while. Lowendick is going to capitalize on it. That gets him into 11th. In fact, Strykars is the only one who's defending of the group we've been watching for a while now. Trying to hold off Ted, but Ted's going to get it anyways. Meanwhile, did I see a change for position for Rubilar? He's getting overtaken by both Fredes and Espinosa.
Yeah, heading into the last corner, so he was all by himself, really. Ash was nowhere near him. Penultimate corner, and then he just... in front of him, it was actually Means, who had lost it over the curb. We've seen a couple of drivers do that before, and he was avoiding his teammate, was Rubilar, and hit the back of him. Tried to avoid him, saw nothing through the smoke. It was like a smoke grenade on A side there, and then Rubilar, you know, just hit his back, and that's an unfortunate incident for those guys. But that's really gonna allow now guys like Espinosa and Fredes gain position. And Rodrigo Mies as well has lost that P number 3 to Stephen Nash now with Rafael Russo behind him.
And Rubilar's lost it in the chute. He's on the exit of the corner in an awkward spot, trying to wait for everybody to get by. Is he actually going to take a tow? Because you usually don't have a small accident over there. Nope, the car's going.
Yeah, he got back there nicely ahead of this pack. We usually tell drivers to try and stay in your place, hold the brakes when you've spun, and he certainly did that, but he's gonna join in right behind Eisler, so that's 2 similarly colored cars, put those Seattle Racing cars, red and blue, behind one another, and certainly not in places we used to be seeing these drivers in show. So it's gonna be an interesting thing to watch how these guys can come back through the pack, if they can come back through the pack, because they're in P23 and P24 now.
If I recall correctly, didn't we have 2 Punto cars also hit each other at Spa as well? So we continue to watch this fight between Fredes and Espinosa heading out of the 90. So that team is, well, I guess you could say they don't have team orders because it certainly doesn't seem like they're handling it well. And Mies, who is getting overtaken here.
Yeah, he has no straight line speed whatsoever. You can see the car is, well, the back end of the car. If I make quote NASCAR Racing 2003 spotter, you're bent up on your back end. And that's certainly the situation there. The diffuser is broken, the aero damage is real, and he has absolutely no straight line speed at this moment. So he's just trying to nurse this car all the way to the pit stop, but it's gonna be a painful, painful experience.
Yeah, and that battling pair that just went by, just acting like nothing happened. Position gained each, and they continue their fight with one another. Although Mies is holding on decently through this portion of the lap. Now he starts to fall away as they get to a longer straight. And up into the heel of the boot, Espinosa not even going to defend from Fredes, who doesn't attack as well, but certainly keeping the pressure on for that 5th position.
Yeah, and he's 20 kilometers an hour. That's 12 miles an hour off the top speed is Rodrigo Mies.
This is going to hurt his championship hopes even more because, again, no spare car in this series. He can only hope to try and get some damage repaired, which probably isn't going to happen for a few more minutes because we don't have that pit window open quite yet. Onto the front stretch, Espinosa starts to stretch away from Fredes, showing a little bit of strength on the final few corners.
Yeah, and so Espinosa has been really, for me, the surprise of the race because he's been solid earlier throughout this season, but nothing that special. But here he seems to have really caught on his best form so far at Watkins Glen with the Ferrari, mind you. Started 16th, is now 5th, so he's been so far very much the highlight of the race, but Fredes certainly not allowing him to run away. Rodrigo Mies, poor Rodrigo Mies, he's now caught up by Ken Huber, by Brett Herman, by Ted Lowendick as well. So that battle also behind him actually. Huber, Thurman, Lowendick, Streichhardt, Mac Miller, Louis Pime Jr., Anthony Pisano, Michael M. Ross. Even Ross has caught up back to the back of that pack.
That was Carollo overtaking Pfeffer that we saw on screen on the backstretch. We've gone to that battle between Lowendick, Streichhardt, Miller, and Co.
Yeah, Streichhardt
more than the 6-car battle we were predicting earlier. There's a bunch here coming together.
Yeah, indeed. Streichhardt really has to fend off Mac Miller right now. Mac Miller showing no interest in overtaking. Meanwhile, up at front, they are really, really, really hampered by Rodrigo Mies. And I think Ken Huber is starting to realize that, oh, Rodrigo's basically a sitting duck right now, just waiting for the straight to pass him, because really, we've seen it before. Rodrigo, he's 12 miles an hour off the pace. He has no response at all on the straight line. So his best option right now is just to pretty much get out of the way and let them all pass at once. No point fighting this, but he's being very brave in going on, because I know a lot of people, they would have lost hope by now.
Starts to gain on him, but not enough. Huber wasn't quite there once they came to the 90. Well, if he missed out on the opportunity there, he's going to get another big old chance here up the hill where they get even quicker. A long, flat-out section, and looks like Mies kind of knows the situation. He didn't even try and get in the way of the other drivers.
No, it would have been stupid at this point, and we know that Mies has been, for a relative rookie driver, he's been very, very solid also. He's putting his car in the right place. We saw that battle season opener with Jesse Stevens and Rodrigo Mies. Mies was being very solid, very fair too. He was battling hard, but he was fair, didn't put a wheel wrong, and he's continued that all throughout the season. It's a shame to see him being so unlucky at Spa. We don't know what issues he had at Spa, but we know that Watkins Glen, he got loose on the curb and got hit by his teammates, I mean. And after that, your race is pretty much over, you're just a sitting duck. But he's not being frustrated here. It's easy to get frustrated when you're just losing positions. You might want to throw some stupid blocks in there, but really he knows his situation and acts accordingly, as Louis Pump Jr. challenges him into the corner. So does Pisano. He's watching his mirrors. Michael Ambrose is well gonna get through, and well, that's how you lose like 7 positions in one lap.
Ooh, what a good replay. Pfeffer and Carollo still fighting, and in the toe of the boot nearly came together. Pfeffer's the one that came out on top between them, as you can see on our live pictures here. Looks like we got the replay spooled up. This is kind of a brilliant move. Almost got him with an over-under as well, Carollo.
Yeah, I mean, I do love over-unders, and it is a spectacular move. And then, you know, at the exit of the corner, getting really close, both drivers realizing the situation and finally getting ahead onto that short straight.
So again, that gives Pfeffer 17th. Next on his list, well, that's Mies already. That is how much room he's lost. As Fredes here on screen, with Espinosa still not quite able to do it, but now really starting to chuck that car in.
He's getting closer and closer. 1/10 faster last time by only, but he's been consistent behind him. I wonder if Fredes is now looking to overtake. He knows Espinosa doesn't quite have the pace he needs at this point in time to get away from the drivers behind, because Huber, Thurman, and that battle pack is coming quite fast, even though they're not catching yet. But they had to deal with Mies last time by, so that's one of the things. So I think Fredes is biding his time now, but if he sees a mistake from Espinosa, even a small sign of weakness, a chink in the armor, then he's gonna get passed like a Toad lost in the morning shower.
Now 20 minutes into this race, and Espinosa having to go on heavy defense. They come out of the final 2 turns. Fredes, where is he going to try and do it? Can he keep up this attack as well? He falls back slightly once again. Is he regrouping, crossing the line to start another lap? We're on lap 12 now at this point. Under braking, looking very good. That number 96, closing the gap once again.
Yeah, closing the gap, but closing is one thing, overtaking is whole other, as we said so many times before, Joe. Let's see if Fredes can pull it off now. He's got the toe. He's certainly catching on. Will Espinosa defend the inside line? Oh, it looks like he will. He will move over. Fredes going to the outside, taking another peek. No chance there. Fredes lifting off the throttle and once again letting Espinosa run away with it. So we are already on lap 12. And these guys have been together pretty much since lap 1. So I wonder if Fredes is trying to save a little bit of fuel here, knowing his pace.
Don't need to go to it, but a change back in that other pack behind them. Lowendick overtook Thurman. That puts him into 8th place. They're starting to lose touch with Huber back there, like you were talking about. We'll keep an eye on that gap, because like you said, Huber could run these two down, Fredes and Espinosa, depending on how hard they fight. So far, they've been staying in line after that initial attack we saw into the inner loop about a lap ago.
Do you know what Watkins, Glen, and Rivers have in common?
Flow?
Tat and other packs.
I see where you go with that.
Yes.
Coming back onto the main course once again. This pack themselves are kind of stuck for the most part. Pisano, Pime Jr., Miller. The only overtake really we've seen is Thurman and Strykars. Other than perhaps, I guess you could say, or excuse me, no, Lowendick and Thurman rather. Although Huber did manage to overtake a few laps ago. Otherwise, it's just been kind of a train trundling along the parade here in the middle of the pack. Everybody perhaps waiting a bit, biding their time.
Yeah, they got no reason to really go for any super aggressive moves in that train, because you know it's this is what we talk about, draft pack, Strykars trying to get closer on Thurman. He's been one of the more active drivers here, and oh, here he goes, actually, to the inside.
Thurman going to lose another spot, or is he? He's going to fight it under braking, and there you go. That is the result of just one pass being made, because everybody checks up behind, and suddenly in accordion forms. It's been incredibly close since that little attack there.
Yeah, and I wonder if Kyle is now gonna not only check up, but also check out, as everyone else is checking up, because Brett Thurman, you know, he's lost a bit of ground. Mac Miller behind, Lewis Pime Jr. behind. They were earlier just sitting back, trying to maybe save a little bit of fuel, maybe just being conservative, seeing who makes a mistake first. But usually in a pack like this, Joe, when someone goes for that move, the guy being overtaken is kind of like bleeding in the water around sharks. Everyone else is gonna get that move done too, because they sense that someone is trying to break away from the pack, and they can't let that happen. Especially Mac Miller. We know he has the pace on other tracks. I wonder if he has the pace here to get past Brett Herman here and get into that top 10.
His teammate, by the way, has been holding on to third for pretty much the whole race since the start of it. Didn't qualify there, but Stephen Ash looking to give a big chunk of points to that team's championship in an effort to get that t-shirt. As this group once again, some of them going very wide out of the 90-degree first right-hand turn, and Mac Miller is going to be the next to try and attack Thurman. Is Thurman going to fight it again? He holds the inside this time instead of staying to the outside. Mac Miller looking to go deep on the brakes, but he's not quite deep enough. Oh, in fact, he's off course a little bit. Everybody behind him scatters once again. One car goes off course. That's Pisano, who's going to get a cut course penalty and a slowdown.
Sent the divers in because that was a little bit too deep for Mac Miller. He was trying to get past on the outside, trying to be brave on the brakes, finding no grip on the outside, getting on the marbles and almost losing the grip. Pime Jr., Michael Ambrose, Justin Graham having to check up behind him.
That certainly caused a little bit of chaos amongst there, but we still got a group that are close together. Miller's going to have to go from attack to defense now. Pime Jr. spying him in that Porsche. Hoping for another opportunity like that. I don't think he's going to sit and wait for a third one to happen, because if the second one comes his way, you have to imagine he'll pounce.
Absolutely, he'll pounce. I mean, you have no reason not to at this point. The battle flag has been thrown. The sirens have sounded. Everyone's in a battle mode at this moment. Just they are done weighing each other. Mac Miller gonna come into the pit lane actually, so he's gonna prove everything that I said pretty much wrong. Well done, man.
Bees' day just got worse.
How?
He's in the wall.
Oh no. Oh no.
This
yeah.
Is a wheel off on turn 9. It looks like from my replay.
Yeah, he was right behind Jeff Carollo and coming to the exit of the corner, just understeering wide and just snap loose and front end into the wall. He's still gonna keep going, but I'll tell you, he would rather have his Tida at this moment, and I think it'd be faster too.
Meanwhile, we jump back once again to Luis Pime Jr. And look at this, Ross all over the back of him. Justin Rame in there too. We haven't talked about Justin a whole lot. He's actually gone backwards, remember, with his early incident. A little bit of an attack as Michael Ross has to go defensive. Oh, way off into the marbles. You talked about that before, off the racing line. Justin Rame somehow keeps the car together, heading through the chute, but he lost a lot of time getting out into the gray.
Yeah, and these were the guys that I believe hit each other on lap 1 too. Justin Graham again losing a lot of time. And he's gonna get passed by Anthony Pisano too, side by side ahead of them. Pime and Ross, Pime Jr. and Michael Ross, and Ross is gonna get through on the inside. So it's a lot of loss for Justin Graham and a lot to gain for Michael M. Ross. They are now separated by 2 cars in the space of a couple of corners. So Ross and Rame definitely quite close to each other on pace and pace-wise too. But Ross is just being a little bit more clever at this point in time, biding his time, taking his chances, and gonna get himself nicely into that 11th place.
Yeah, and importantly for Ross, he now has clear air in front of him. So if he was being held up by that train before, let's see what he can unleash now that he's got open sky in front of him. Just about at halfway. Really the only scheduled stop we've had is Mac Miller. He settles back in 26 after that. And he doesn't really have much traffic in front of him right now.
And that could be a good move considering how much they're battling in the attack, and I think Max saw it. He also saw the battle flag was drawn. He saw, oh, I'm gonna have to fight if I want to get this position, so you know what, I'm gonna pit, I'm gonna let them fight, and then once the pit cycle is over, they're gonna realize that they're battling for one lesser position.
Watching on screen Pisano being attacked by Rain, but he was not able to get that done. We've switched back to Miller, climbing up the S's, just to tell you how far back he is from that other group, which is already into the boot section of the course.
Oh, low in the
stop here.
Lowendick and Hubert getting mighty close indeed at the toe. I think Lowendick was close to touching Hubert there. And he's gonna now look to the inside, but nothing doing there. However, I think Ted has started to get tired of seeing the back end of that yellow Ferrari. I don't know why, because that is a good looking car with the German flag on the back, but you know, Ted Lowendick, he's got his own ideas, and he certainly has his sights set to P number 7.
I've been keeping an eye on Lowendick because I saw him closing in on Huber for a while here. I know it's probably heresy to some, but I actually prefer yellow on Ferraris as opposed to red. As he comes out of the final corner, Huber's going to keep himself safe from attack out of that one, but what about the 90? That is the critical turn here.
Yeah, and gonna just hope to get a good exit, both getting about an equal exit. Huber's a little bit better, but Lowendick's pretty much in the draft range here. Nice through the SS flat out in these cars, mind you. You don't have to lift through here, and Lowendick's, he's gonna get closer and closer, but I don't think that's the run he wants to use quite yet. No, the Porsche seems to lack a little bit of straight line speed compared to the Ferrari. We know about the mighty torques in the Italian car, and Hubert's putting that to good use so far.
Meanwhile, this is Pisano to the inside of Pime Jr. He's going to get it. So Anthony up to 12th now with that smooth move into the inner loop. Back there, third in line, that's Justin Raines, still struggling to try and find his way by anything after going way offline just a couple laps ago. Let's see if he gets the line right this time. Very different between Pime Jr. and Pisano, though, through the chute.
Yeah, and behind them it's Christopher Pfeffer as well, catching up to the pack. And also Christian Eisler in a good pace, 43.5 last time by, so he's on an excellent pace. He's still about 10 seconds back, but look out for him later on in the race. Not even 10 seconds actually, he's about 6 seconds back. So he might join this pack as we proceed throughout this race, especially if Pisano and Pime Jr. continue fighting. And Justin Raines, he's gotta be gutted about that mistake earlier on as well.
You know, I asked the question whether or not Michael Ross would have good pace once he was freed up. To tell you what happened after that, well, he's already on the back of Brett Thurman and has been challenging him as well, just in front of this group. Well, he's not going to have to do it long. Thurman elects to be our next scheduled pitter. He's being joined by Pfeffer.
Indeed so, those guys taking it to the pit lane at this moment in time. Meanwhile, Michael M. Ross did a 43.5 on the previous lap, now 43.8. He's faster than Strykars, faster than Lowendick, faster than Huber, faster than Fredes, faster than Espinosa, and almost as fast as Russo and Nash. So he's at P number 3 pace right now, essentially. Unfortunately, he's nowhere near that position, but look out for him to climb, as there are still about half of the laps left. So we're looking at around 35 laps in this race and show. As the pit stops start rolling in, this is the time when he truly has to make decisions, Michael M. Ross. Once he starts catching up to those guys, it's up to him to decide, okay, do I want to battle this? Does this guy give position easily? And in case of Strykars, we can pretty much rest assured he won't. So, might as well look into the pit lane soon enough.
And those pit stops have already given Mac Miller track position. He wound up ahead of Brett Thurman after both of them had their stop. Same thing with Pfeffer, who is behind them. So right now, Mac Miller's still our highest pitter. So we watch Ross, who still gives chase on Kyle Strykars, the number 7, the next one in line. Let's see if Strykars also elects to pit now, or does he stay out and try to hold up the number 67? He's got to know that that is a fast car, especially with how quickly he ran him down.
And Lowendick into the pits. Strykars into the pits as well.
All right, starting to kick off just past halfway. Also, Anthony Pisano into pit lane. Not seen anybody else from that group heading in. Where is this going to bring Mac Miller after all of this? He was trying to do what he can to get track position. It's worked with one of them, 2 of them really. Is it going to work for more?
We'll have to wait and see. Lowendick in the pit lane, Strykars in the pit lane, Pisano in the pit lane, a couple of back markers in the pit lane as well. Oh, Cal Quinn getting a position in turn number 1 as well. Tremblay right behind him. That's actually a good battle for the 15th position at the moment. Toward the SS.
Yeah, now for 13th, and Tremblay with Cal Quinn just in front of him, and Romig sandwiching him from behind. They come on to the back stretch. Sean's actually going to have a good run, but he decides to lift. Thinks better of it. Tremblay doesn't have a good enough run, and Calquin, despite covering off the inside, actually he's very shallow into the inner loop. Somehow still makes the corner and doesn't lose a position. What looked like it was going to be a lot of excitement winds up with giving us no change of position.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Mac Miller got past Kyle Streichhardt out of the pit lane and past Pisano as well. So his tactic really working well so far. He's under some pressure from Streichhardt, but nothing too serious there at this moment. Ted Lowendick still ahead of him, but you know, Mac Miller, he made a good call. He really did.
I'd say so. The only driver he didn't beat out was Lowendick. As looks like more stops. Who is that heading in? That is Espinosa, freeing up Fredes.
Oh, Rame has spun into the penultimate corner. Justin Rame has just spun in car number 3 in the penultimate corner from 9th place, so he's gonna lose a couple of positions. Sorry for that, that just caught my eye there. Watching out of the commentary booth and seeing a black Ford GTE spinning.
Yeah, we can see the replay here. This is actually, this is probably one of the safest wrecks he could have at this portion of the track. I can't tell you how many times I've thrown a race away through here.
Yeah, and he just let his, I think he was just gliding into the corner a little bit too eagerly, you know, trying to turn it a little bit more, applying maybe a little bit of brake, going into trail braking maybe a little bit too much. He just lost the back end already on the entry midpoint of the corner, and then he was just a passenger. But he did very well of turning the car sideways and making the best out of a bad situation, not trying to save it when it was already lost, because often when you save it, Joe, you know that feeling when you save it and it snaps the other way and you end up into the wall. Well, that's not what Rame did. He knew, he accepted the loss. He knows that, okay, I'm gonna spin, but I'm gonna lose as little as possible while doing it.
It's on screen. Espinosa comes back out, our highest pitter, in 14th. Interesting to note that Lowendick's only, what is it, 3.5 seconds behind. I think Ted may have gained a little bit of time on Andre in that exchange. It's Fredes who we saw there that we are waiting to find out where he's going to come out in response to Espinosa. And Tremblay, of course, here in the chute.
Yeah, he's had some difficulty earlier on, did Tremblay. He's back on track now, but he's going to get passed by Mac Miller, I think. Yes, he is. Mac Miller with fresh tires, Tremblay with a couple of old ones. And I'm actually curious what happened here. Oh, he just spun it.
Yeah, the car comes around. Oh, he hit one side, and I thought I saw him to the inside, so I guess he was just getting the car moving there. Yeah, there he goes. Yeah.
That's an interesting one for Jean-Marc Tremblay. He's heading out of the carousel, as you like to call it. You Americans and calling everything carousel, I'll never wrap my head around it. The only carousel is at the Nürburgring, okay, Nordschleife? But yeah, anyway, Tremblay getting lost on the entry, trying to get it turned in, lost the back end, which can happen easily on worn out tires, on light fuel loads. And he's gonna come to the pits. Yes, he is.
Olsen and Tremblay, yeah, amidst a huge pack there. That was Lowendick and Miller, as there was all kinds of strategies going on there. Thankfully, nobody got tangled with one another. Strykars now getting a good exit, and I think he's got an awesome chance to try and overtake the 172. The speed builds up here as you come through the S's up to the top of the hill, 150 miles an hour, 155 by the time they get to the backstretch, and it's still climbing, but he's not got what I thought he had.
He's lifting. Yeah, he was lifting at the end of the straight. I saw his speed go down from 259 to 257 kilometers per hour at the end of the straight. He saw that there was no space. He wasn't going to get properly alongside, and meanwhile, I believe our race second place is pitting.
Yeah, Modov is in, but Rafael Russo's lost a position, I think. And did he hit the wall? I think he did, yes. Driver who was in 4th place, and actually still in 4th place, now falling to 5th, since it looks like he's electing to come in. Let's see what happens. Oh, this is exactly what you were just talking about, catching it.
Yeah, and he also spearheaded that outside wall, you know. He was on a good pace. He just got a little bit wide on the penultimate corner. Then on the exit, he was trying to catch it. He should have just kept the wheel straight. It was trying to go left, and then it grit back, hooked to the right, and then he lifted the throttle and applied the brakes. Now, he could have made it away with a little bit more less damage had he not done that, but you know, these are split-second situations, ladies and gentlemen. It's not something, it's easy for me to say from the commentary booth, for us to say from the spectator point, oh, he should have done this, should have done that. We have the benefit of a replay. These drivers have to make split-second decisions, and trying to save the race car comes as an instinct for most experienced race drivers. So it's really fighting against your instinct when you just let the wheel go straight and you just spin it. So, you know, he was trusting his instincts, which had served him so well so far in the race, and ended up paying the price.
This battle we've been watching is one of the best on the track right now, still between Miller, Lowendick, Strykars, Thurman, Pisano, and Pfeffer all together. Our leader in the meantime has come in, possibly in response to Modov. This could be at the end of the pit window. Modov's back out, and he's running in fourth, although his next car back has got to be somewhat demoralizing for the 727. Christian Eisler, who has yet to take his stop, saw the driver that he started this race next to finish a pit stop and still come out before he's even come in.
Yeah, and Jesse Stevens, we haven't talked about him much this race. Reason is he's been all alone up front, driving the perfect race so far, not been under pressure really since the opening laps, and doing very well. Just cutting the yellow line of the pit exit, getting really close to it, but I think he's safe and well ahead of Karmodov as well. So no pressure for him so far, and should be looking towards an easy victory at Watkins Glen. But Jesse Stevens, as much slack as I've given him during this season for some of his moves, when this man can drive his own race, his pace is excellent. I don't think he has much to be worried about, much to be, you know, ashamed about in comparison to anyone, even to Karmodov. His pace is there, the consistency hasn't been there, but this could be the opening bell of a great second half of the championship for Jesse.
Ooh, when Fredes managed to jump Espinosa in the pit stops, that's going to promote him to fourth place after the issues we saw before with, trying to remember who that was, Russo, I believe, that we had Russo. The replay into the wall, and Huber on screen. Was this a pass?
No, he got alongside Michael Ambrose at the back straight, but Michael Ambrose stays ahead of him, and Ross actually came out of the pit lane, so they were really close, but Michael Ambrose was actually able to jump Ken Huber. Now I'm trying to look if, yeah, Ross just pitted, so that's another position gain for him. And he's behind Espinosa now, and remember, this man has had an excellent pace in this race so far.
Only he didn't have his mistake early on. He maybe could be much higher at this point. Back to this action, and Lowendick once again under threat. Strykars staying within the tire tracks, a little bit of a drift over, and then back to the racing line for Ted, just to cover off that SRT machine. Not going to let him have the opportunity quite yet. This is all happening behind Mac Miller, who's probably glad to see drivers battling in that mirror.
Yeah, and Pfeffer as well has caught up to the back of the pack. He's now behind Thurman. Pfeffer has had an excellent pace in this race so far, and so has Eisler, who is back from the pit lane and is in the back of that pack as well. So we got a couple of fast drivers right in the back of the pack, and then in front of them a battle going on, and they're practically licking that outside wall in the last corner. Striker's gonna go for a pass in the lap, turn number one, not quite able to make it through. However, Lowendick going very wide on that runoff and barely being able to avoid all those bumps there. A good battle so far.
Teddy really flirting with disaster on that final turn. It is almost like a street circuit with the way it is right against the racing line. Meanwhile, Strykars is going to get another shot, and once again, Lowendick trying to make sure that he has to take the hard way around. As they come into the inner loop, he's going to back off behind them. Brett Thurman and Pfeffer went side by side, and Thurman is going to come out on top in 11th.
Yeah, and Eisler getting ever closer to the back of Pisano, to the back of Pfeffer, to the back of Thurman as well. Thurman losing a little bit of ground now as a result of the pressure from Christopher Pfeffer. With that bent up rear wing doesn't seem to affect his pace so far. He's doing really well in the RSR eSport machine, is Pfeffer. So he's gonna try and look for a pass here. He's already gotten Thurman just a little bit off his line. And meanwhile, Lowendick and Strykars still trying to measure each other. Strykars trying to find a way through there. What I found really interesting on the end of the main straight, on the back straight rather, last time by is that Strikehards elected not to go for the gap on the inside, even though Lowendick left on there. So we might see Strikehards in later portions of this race, seeing that, oh, Ted is being a little bit lazy in his defense. Maybe I could exploit it.
Boy, there's action everywhere you look in this group, because behind them Eisler took a go on Pisano but didn't quite make it stick. Meanwhile, Pfeffer with a fantastic run down to the 90. If he makes this pass, though, Thurman could try and go right back by on the backstretch. He's going to give him space, looks for the good exit off the corner, and it's going to be a decent one, but will it be enough? Pfeffer now has to hope that he's got enough oomph under that car to stretch away.
Indeed, the bent up rear wing doesn't help at all. Creating extra bit of track. Is Thurman gonna be able to exploit that? He's looking to the inside, but he's not gonna have a room here. So going to the outside is Brett Thurman. Gonna try to go for the pass here side by side, but Thurman not quite late enough on the brakes and not able to get a better run than Pfeffer either. So Pfeffer holds on for now, and he's gonna have to look into his mirrors, does Brett Thurman, because there is Anthony Pisano, and Pisano is being caught up by a hungry Christian Neisler. What can the Iceman do here? Will he put them all in the fridge?
Hungry Christian Eisler doesn't sound like a fun board game to me, and certainly doesn't to Pisano, as Christian Eisler was much cleaner off the chute. In fact, Pisano looks all out of sorts now. He's very shaky going through the toe of the boot and losing touch with Thurman. I said Eisler before was having a go, and once again he pokes his nose out, just shows himself in the mirrors, but doesn't make a serious attempt.
No, not at all. So once again, they come back to the start line soon enough. Gonna collect their $200 and then go back to another lap. Speaking of board games, this is certainly a game of high-speed chess being played here by these guys. When you are in a pack like this, you know, you don't only have to plan your next move, but the one after that. And what is everybody going to do? You have so many variables here. And meanwhile, Strikehards Lowendick gonna get a little bit away as a result of all this battling. So Pfeffer really, he needed to get that move done as soon as possible, and Thurman now has to hold off these guys.
That last move in the 90 by Pfeffer split them apart from the Strikehards by a huge gap. This group now coming back up over the crest and onto the backstretch. We actually might want to go to Strikehards because he's closing in on Lowendick. But yeah, once again, he's going to decide to back out of it. So they'll stay in position. Lowendick in 9th, Strikehards in 10th.
Yeah, and Eisler has been surprisingly passive in the back of the stack so far, but he's seeing a gap forming between Thurman and Pisano, and I'm wondering if Christian Eisler is going to go for a move on the infield here. We know the advantage that Ford GTE has in these high-speed corners. Can he use it here? It's gonna require a little bit of a mistake, I think so.
No doubt about that. These drivers are all incredibly talented in this group. Pisano's a little bit under threat because Eisler once again is about a car length behind.
Oh, Eisler. Oh no.
He's gonna
Faking
look
it.
at it. Whoa, and he messed himself up.
No, that's not what you wanna do. If you wanna style it and fake a move, make sure you actually brake early enough. He lost it on the braking, heading back to left, and had to just straighten his steering wheel coming to the heel of the boot. And as a result of that, he lost all chances of battling for a position there, and also lost the position to Louis Pine Jr. So that's not what the Iceman wanted there.
He's getting too cute for his own good, unfortunately. Meanwhile, the battle for 9th is still very tight. Now, last time we saw Strikehards decide not to go for anything, but this time it looks like he's starting this run up the hill much closer to the 172. We now hop on board looking from the nose of the number 7. Oh, this is looking very good. I don't think Lowendick is going to give it to him easily. Oh, but look at that. You talk about a fake. Strikehards manages to get the open gap that he wants. He's going to get to the inside, down into the inner loop, and he's going to take that 9th place away.
Lovely. Just lovely from Kyle Strikehards there. You know, he just solved him the bait. Absolutely. And, well, Ted took it hook, line, and sinker there. He was gonna fake, okay, I'm gonna look to the outside, and then he saw Ted, you know, trying to defend that outside and just taking a normal racing line, and then realizing, oh, here comes Kyle. And by the time Ted realized it, it was already too late. Kyle just pinching him a little on the entry of the corner and making sure that he gets the move done. So what can Ted Lowendick do now? Can he do anything? Or is it up to Kyle to catch up to Mac Miller ahead of them?
The pit crew certainly will find the mannequin inside Lowendick's car because he got sold a dummy. Strikar's next up for him is Mac Miller, but it's about a second and a half up the road with 12 and a half minutes left on the clock. He's going to have to start hustling if he thinks he's got the pace to get up to P8. Up at the front, again, we're not missing anything. Jesse Stevens, 11 seconds ahead of Karl Modoff. This definitely was not Karl Modoff just sitting behind and working his pace earlier, because if it was, this strategy has failed spectacularly. Stevens has just absolutely stomped him today.
Yeah, and you can see the difference between the Ford GT and the Porsche there. He warned about it last week. You know, he was in the commentary booth for an interview after yet another race, and he said, you know, Watkins Glen, it's gonna be a fourth track, so Jesse Stevens and those guys are gonna be really threatening here, and that's exactly what's happening. Meanwhile, turn your cameras back to the P number 10, because Lowendick, after getting sold a dummy, well, Christopher Pfeffer is right behind him, and he's gonna look into that P number 10 as well, thinking it's a solid spot to be at this point in the race, and he's looking for that overtake. Lowendick having to brake later and later into each and every corner. I wonder if Pfeffer is gonna take a move here into the toe. No, he's not. But just as an insurance, Ted Lowendick anyway taking the inside entry into that corner.
Pfeffer, to his credit, he's another one that had some woes at the start. He's back up exactly where he started this race. Granted, I'm sure he'd like to be in Lowendick's position as we take a look at a replay here. Now, who is this in the Ferrari? We've got off Hodgson, and eventually taking a tow, thankfully, because that was a bad spot to have the car sitting. Oh no, and that wasn't his fault. That was Carollo coming back right in front of him.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see, you know. Hodgson just minding his own business, coming to the penultimate corner. Jeff Carollo, meanwhile, has fallen victim to the penultimate corner and the white curb on the outside that's been so rogue. And he essentially did what Russo did earlier on, corrected it into the wall, and Carollo then, you know, going forward and not turning it around there for some reason, and taking some maneuvers and then reversing right into the path of completely innocent Jason Hodgson, who can't see him going around the corner. He can see the yellow flags, but that's just clumsy. That's just clumsy, and I know you're disorientated after a crash, but still, that's just really, really clumsy from Carollo, and you never like to see that.
Hey, talk about fighting your instinct. It's always a hard thing as a driver. You just want to keep going immediately, and you have to make sure you're clear. Now, these three are not clear, though. Strikar's, Lowendick, and Pfeffer still all together. I talked about wanting to be in Lowendick's position. 20 seconds on the grid for Ted, up to 10th right now. This has been a phenomenal race for him.
Yeah, look out AJ Styles, because here comes another phenomenal one, and he is Ted Lowendick gonna try to get back into Kyle Strikar's. Meanwhile, Pfeffer made a little bit of a mistake at the chute earlier on, lost a bit of ground, but here goes Strikar's going a little bit wide, and Lowendick, who's been a bit slower, I must say, earlier on, is now looking very strong, and I think Strikar's is realizing at this point that if I don't have to draft, I might not be as fast compared to these guys as I thought as we watched the glorious sunset, but the area around Watkins Glen, New York, into its yellow-orange light, and these guys are lighting up the track at this moment. We haven't got much more than 5 minutes left in this race, but those 5 minutes show they're gonna be true, proper nail biters. Actually,
Sir?
don't bite your nails during the epidemic. I just thought of that.
Well, I think Lowendick's going to be out of nails here because Pfeffer's got a great run. Ted's going to cover off the inside once again. Is he going to lose out here? Pfeffer has it alongside, but not past him. Oh, way deep on the brakes. Can Ted get the car under control? Looking for another opportunity. Pfeffer going to try and pull another move, but it just doesn't quite work out.
That was about as much on the limit as you can get. Breaking into the bus stop. Here comes Pfeffer again. On to Lowendick to the inside, into the chute. Can he pull it off? Yes, he stays alongside. Into the toe. Can he cross over to the inside? He certainly tries. He takes the cross. But this is not Netherlands. Taking the cross is not a good thing. And here comes Pfeffer. Oh! No, not gonna able to do it. But once again, staying right behind him. And this is now proper battling. They don't care about strike cards. Kyle can keep his position for all they care. They only care about that top 10 position. Pfeffer looking into every which direction he can.
This is turning into quite an aggressive attack and defense from both drivers. I'm afraid this might wind up in tears before this is done. How much does Ted Lowendick want to stay within the top 10, or can he sacrifice just one position to see the checkered flag? I'd hate to see him throw this away. All this fighting, though, Kyle Strykars is seeing them get smaller and smaller in his mirrors, and, well, he's certainly not one that's getting nervous and biting those nails as he gets himself quite a bit of comfort in the final minutes.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to bite your nails through race gloves anyway. They're actually pretty stuffy, you know.
Eisler and Pime Jr., that's going to be a switch of positions. Christian up to P14.
Yeah, that's another change of positions then at this moment in time. But the only true battle here, or rather the highest battle here, is that P number 9, 10, 11, 12 pack. And actually Pisano is right up to Brett Herman now also for P number 12. I wonder if Eisler's going to catch back up to them. No, he isn't. So even though he is 1 second faster, he isn't catching up anytime soon. Not at least in these final couple of minutes. But Pisano, he's looking aggressive too, and Pfeffer as well. So Pfeffer lost a bit of time once again on the chute. So Pisano, well, he's getting closer and closer. And it's kind of hard show. I'm glad we got 4 eyes here in the commentary booth. Actually 6 because I'm wearing glasses. But, you know, because we got so many good battles here going on, especially 2 good battles around P number 10.
I thought you were going to say 6 because we got Jay back there helping us out, but let's just ignore the director then, I guess.
Yeah, he's watching Steve. He's not actually doing anything.
On screen, this is Pfeffer, Lowendick, and Strykars as they come around. Let's see.
Oh, Thurman lost the position.
3 laps to go.
Yeah, Thurman lost the position to Pisano.
Was this in turn 9? Yes, it was. This is worth a replay. Thurman buckled under the pressure.
Yeah, he really did buckle, and as much as I like to give hard words to our director, he has been on point replay with the replays has Mr. Jake Kennedy. So give a shout out to Mr. Kennedy there as well in the director's booth as we approach the final laps of this race. So with that development, Pisano 12th, Thurman 13th, Pine Jr. Eisler has made a mistake in turn number 1 as well.
Yep, another one in this race. It's not the first one for the 727. Don't need a replay, just, oh, nope, we got the replay. Here it is. This is a simple spin down into the 90 from the Punto car.
Yeah, just spinning it out, trying too hard. And I can't fault him, really. I mean, he didn't have much to lose at this point. He just wanted to get back up there, trying to catch up to the guys in front. It might have been too little too late, and he certainly tried to pull it off.
We haven't looked at Michael Ross in a while, and he's been chipping away at Andre Espinoza. Espinoza already lost 4th, or what would have been 4th, to Fredes. Now he might find himself outside of the top 5. Because here comes a driver who is going to be eager to get as far up as he can. He started on the 2nd row. He's only made it back up to 6th position. I say only, but certainly it's not easy with the talent out here today.
Yeah, and 16th faster the last time by as well for Ross.
Yeah, that is not looking good for Espinoza. He's going to have 2 laps to defend, 2 or 3 laps.
Oh, Lowendick's into the wall in the last corner, and he's gonna lose the position to Pfeffer as well. So Lowendick trembling under the pressure, hitting the outside wall, and they say the Wall of Champions is at Montreal. Well, I think that's a good candidate for that as well. So Lowendick losing a position. Fortunately for him, Pisano is far, far behind.
Yeah, the American version, I guess you could say, of that turn.
Wait, Canada is not in America?
Well, it depends on who you ask down here.
Oh,
but
let's not discuss that any further.
Yeah. Man, that's 3 drivers in quick succession we've seen who made mistakes that handed over positions. almost needlessly here at the end of the race. It seems like it's getting to a few drivers here.
And it almost seems like as if the tires wear out over the course of the race. I know that's a crazy theory, Joe, but I truly subscribe to that one. And when you are in a tight battle pack, well, you gotta remember these drivers are absolutely doing 10/10ths out here, and that means mistakes are gonna happen, and it's easy to lose it when you come at the same braking spot 10 last time by, but you got a little bit less tire tread left, and this track, it likes to eat up tires. You are doing these fast corners, it is a 1 hour race, so by the end of it, you're not gonna have much left at all. I wouldn't be surprised to see a deflated tire like in Lime Rock here, but I suppose you got a little bit longer straights to actually pull them off here.
What's interesting to note about that as well is that Lime Rock was the last time Jesse Stevens won, the only other driver to have won so far this season. We are now at 2 laps to go officially. So Ross has certainly got more and more time, well, less time, but more than maybe we anticipated to try and overtake the 87. Doesn't do it this time, but he's already been poking his nose here and there, trying to get into the head of that number 87 vehicle.
Indeed, so you know, he's gonna try and see what's gonna happen here, and it is the 5th place up for grabs. Espinosa 3/10 faster last time by. Ross is losing a little bit of ground here on the draft. He's gaining him on the straights. The problem is that, of course, Espinosa is driving a Ferrari, which is notoriously fast on the end of the long straights due to its torque on the high gear. So Ross is just gonna have to bide his time, wait and see, and look for an overtake in a corner or get an absolutely massive launch up the hill. Either way, he's gonna need to get it done over the course of these last remaining, 18 corners or so. Not too many spots. Father time certainly against him, but what's he's got going for him? A fast race car and a good driver.
This is where we saw Ross take a look last lap. This time, though, he's a little bit farther back than before, so Espinosa doesn't even have to go defensive to try and fend off Michael Ross. White flag now waves. Jesse Stevens already on that final lap, practically a victory lap with the gap that he's pulled on the field.
Yeah, unless he runs out of fuel or something terrible happens, nothing's gonna take the victory away from him. And credit where it's due, he's driven, as I said earlier, a perfect race so far. He's been very solid, very good. Being able to run away, no matter, we may talk all day about superior machinery in terms of the comparison between Ford GT and the Porsche out here on this track, but I mean, you need to be a very, very good driver to run away from car mode off like this. I mean, we've seen other Ford GTs in the race, and they're not running away from car mode off. Car is still in the 2nd place, so you have to be very good to pull it off, and Jesse Stevens en route to his 2nd victory of the season.
Boy, Ross just went way wide at the 90, and I think that shot himself on the foot, because unless he gets a lot closer in these next few corners, I'm not sure that he's going to be able to overtake Espinosa from here on out. It's going to be a tough ask. Meanwhile, we go to the number 36. He seems to be the tire master, with them wearing out at Lime Rock Park and other drivers finding the tires going away from them here at the very fast Watkins Glen. Not so the case for Jesse Stevens in that Ford GT. Win number 2 for the number 36 comes in New York.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Ross has once again caught right back up to Espinosa. He was looking into the toe, and he is gonna look into the heel as well, but he is losing a bit of ground here. Oh, gonna go for a late lunge. Not quite close enough. Gonna psych out Anders Espinosa, trying to go for that psych out at least, but this is not burnout, and that's not gonna work. But he's gonna get a better line of the turn number 9, turn number 10. Let's see what happens here. Not quite close enough. No, it's gonna be Espinosa, I think. Unless he smacks the wall on the outside or something. We've seen that happen too.
Yeah, he's got to keep it clean. He's got to maximize it off this corner. Ross is trying everything he can, but it's just not there. Espinosa withstands the pressure for a nicely earned top 5. How about Ken Huber as well? 19th to 7th here. Mac Miller from 21st to 8th himself. A lot of drivers in this mid-pack who have just done a wonderful race today. Pfeffer comes across in 10th. Lowendick winds up in 11th after a few mistakes at the end. Saw a slow car there. That was Mies just limping at home, unfortunately, trying to stay out of everybody's way. So he was a lap down. That wasn't for position. That's just about everybody, essentially, that are fighting to the end. The only other battles I can see are Tremblay, Steffi, and Olsen for the last few on the lead lap.
Yeah, and they've been pretty close all throughout the race, and Tremblay hasn't been really on the pace here, a little bit slower than the guys behind, but he's going to be able to hold on to it due to his consistency and get a nice top 20 off it as well, even though Steffi went right up to the wall. It's actually going to be a photo finish. Steffi's going to come alongside and just get him off to the last corner. Wow!
I think Tremblay just ran out of fuel.
Yeah, I think so too. He was just stuttering over the line, and that's a heartbreak for the Quebec driver.
Shame to see right at the line. You hate when that happens, but Jesse Stevens does not hate today at all.
No.
We'll watch him celebrate his victory here in a moment, but we're going to take a break as we get ready to bring you back the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. If you watch on screen, you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Watkins, Glen. We just watched round 5 in the PRL GTE Sportscar series, and Jesse Stevens responds to Carl Modoff's pace earlier on in this season. He took his second victory and has closed down the gap to Carl, who finished second behind him. Stephen Ash took his first podium coming from 7th, a nice third place for him. A bit of a quiet day for him as well, with Ignacio Fredes winding up in 4th place using strategy to his advantage. Andre Espinoza at least held on to that 5th. He could have been in 4th, but just couldn't outfox Fredes. Michael Ross challenging him all the way to the line, but Ross, with a mistake early in the race, fell to 6th from 4th on the grid. Ken Huber took 7th, Mac Miller took 8th, and Kyle Strykars took 9th. All three of them making, I believe, 10 plus, except for Kyle, which is about 8 positions up, it looks like, for him. So Christopher Pfeffer rounds out your top 10 of drivers having a very good day today.
Ted Lowendick, another driver with a very good day, up 11 positions to finish 11th. Anthony Pisano 12th. Brett Turman 13th. Louis Pime Jr. 14th. Justin Rem 15th. And well, Christian Eisler, he tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, he only got 16th. Horacio Calguin 17th. Sean Duhamel 18th. Dave Peterson 19th. And out of the last corner, Chase Steffi being able to launch himself all the way to 20th position.
Then in 21st, it was Jean-Marc Tremblay and Donald Olsen in 22nd, the last car on the lead lap. Lawson Christie in 23rd and Rodrigo Mies in 24th. Both of them a lap down. From there on down, you get into drivers who had some big problems. Wilson, Romig, Russo, Hodgson, Carollo, Rubilar, and Rodriguez and Broderick did not start today. Up at the top, we have Jesse Stevens ready to talk to us after his celebrations. Jesse, congratulations on victory number two. We were trying to figure out if there's a pattern here because we noticed that tires were kind of an issue at Lime Rock Park. And we wondered, are they also an issue here since there's so many fast corners? Do you feel like you just manage them better than everybody else?
Uh, Not really. Tire wear per lap is about the same as it was at Lime Rock. It's just the fact that you're doing almost twice as many laps as you are here. Um, no, it's just the Ford just felt really good this week, is all.
Well, it certainly came at a good time. When we started the broadcast, we were discussing how Modoff has momentum on his side, and he's got 3 out of 4 wins. Someone needs to try and stop that momentum. Now that you've got one over on him, do you feel pretty good heading off to Barcelona that maybe you can try and take this to him in the second half of the season?
Definitely. It's a big difference coming from the BMW, especially from Spa. I was having to push well over the limit of the car just to keep up. It was kind of frustrating, but I think Barcelona would be a good overall track for all the cars, so we'll see how it goes.
Awesome stuff. Well, with another victory on hand, is there anybody that helped make this one happen for you?
Yeah, the guys over at Radicals, they did a really good job helping out this week, testing in different conditions, doing races to see how the car felt over a long distance, as well as trying to put together a qualifying set. So yeah, the collaborative effort there was really nice. So I'd like to thank them.
Great stuff. Radicals are a very quick team. We've seen them plenty of times here on GSRC, and Jesse Stevens lives up to that reputation with a victory here today. Up next, I believe we've got our second place finisher, Carl Modoff. Yes, we do. Looks like Ossian is caught up with him.
Yes, I have. Not many people can catch up with Car Modov, but I'm able to catch up him with him at least after the race. Car, you mentioned last week how this is gonna be a Ford GT circuit, and it has certainly proven itself to be. So, are you happy with the second place out here today?
Yeah, I think I have to be. The winner in me is bummed, of course, especially when you watch, Jesse just leave me in the dust like that. Ford was strong and he was well prepared. Every time I saw him throughout the week, he was really fast. So he definitely put in the work, and it showed today. Um, I'm not really sure the balance of the cars in the upcoming races, but I know I need to do a better job preparing. I was at the end there, I kind of lost the front of my car, so I was the last half of the race kind of limping it around. I was worried about having a blown tires, kind of like in Lime Rock, and I just wasn't really sure what the setup would do at the end of the race, and that's my fault. So given that, I'm really pretty happy with second place.
Yes, and certainly the championship is looking good as well. Are you? How much are you actually thinking about the championship in these races? Is it a constant thought in the back of your head, or are you just focusing on each and every one of these races individually and then seeing what happens?
Yeah, I think you approach each one just trying to do the race and just focusing on the race and trying to have as good a result as possible. I will say after the race started and I, lost the draft from Jesse and then, had a decent gap to third there. I did kind of start driving a little bit more conservative and try and save the car and just, I didn't want to do anything stupid and put it in the wall because of the championship. So definitely approaching it race by race, trying to get victories. But I think, after the race kind of gets going and you get into the middle half of the race, you kind of got to look at yourself and realize what your actual perspective, what I can do. I couldn't win. I could easily put it in the wall. So I just kind of cruise around thinking about that championship. Hopefully I can get a third one here.
Well, after his last win, after Jesse's last win, you got 2 wins on the trot. Are you looking for 2 wins on the next 2 races as well?
Yes, absolutely. I'll definitely be looking to get a couple more victories there. I haven't really dialed in Silverstone or Barcelona before, which are the next 2 rounds. So looking forward to kind of getting into those tracks a little bit more and finding out the little intricacies there. So yeah, look forward to next.
Well, thank you, Carl. And if you would like anyone to thank any sponsors or shoutouts, then feel free. Ladies and gentlemen, in the second place, championship leader, Carl Modov.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Just want to say thanks to PRL, GSRC, all you guys, the announcers. Thank Delta Sport and then our sponsor, Move Up Lynchburg. Thanks, everyone involved with the team. Thanks.
Yep, thank you, Carl. And up next, I believe it is Joe Peak with the man who rounded out the podium here today.
Yep, it's Stephen Ash who's kind of making these podiums a bit of a habit. But, Stephen, I believe this is your first time this season over in the GTE cars.
Pardon?
I believe this is your first podium here in the GTE cars here at PRL.
Oh, actually, no. I've been on a streak this season. Actually, this is my fourth podium in a row now. In PRL, so I'm really happy. Been doing pretty well. Second, third place in a row. Had 2 second places earlier in the season. So yeah, things are going well.
You know, I realized where I went wrong. I was looking at the qualifying results and not just at some of the race results. My apologies.
Yeah, no, I haven't quite been up there yet in qualifying, but hoping to get there.
So it helps if I look in the right place. Even still, the one thing that has become something of a trend is you don't qualify in these top 3 spots quite as much. You always seem to be doing much better in terms of the race. Do you see yourself maybe improving on that qualifying and taking it one step further?
Yeah, I'm really trying to get my pace up. I mean, my pace hasn't been bad, but it could definitely be a little bit better, and especially in qualifying, I'm having a few issues. I mean, here at Watkins, I think the Ford was just really fast today, so a lot of those guys were qualifying up top there, whereas the Porsche was a little bit slower down the long straights here, so that was where I lacked a little bit of speed.
Yeah, well, even still, keeping it safe, like we heard Carl Modov just talking about, seems to have done well for you in terms of getting you these results. Eventually, something's got to come your way. Now, granted, Barcelona has a lot of paved runoff with that being a modern Formula One track. So, do you think it'll be a little bit harder to get that podium with so much space to try and save the car?
Yeah, Barcelona is going to be a pretty tough race. It can get pretty tight there at times, but so far I've done a good amount of testing there already, and the pace looks much better next week than it has been for this week. So I'm hoping for another great result there.
All right, so positive outlook there from Stephen Ash. Before you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, once again, just want to thank the guys back at Full Send Racing, and of course my teammate Mac Miller. He was a lot of help tonight with setting up the car and really allowed us to have a really good race tonight and get some more great points for Full Send Racing for the team. So yeah, just thanks to everyone and thanks to you guys.
Great stuff there from Stephen Ash. We even talked about that championship fight in the teams and how great of a job Miller did coming up from his qualifying as well. But we're going to close things out, and I definitely at least going to remember the right sponsors because we've got to thank the Simulation Motorsports Affinity, SIMMSA.net. If you want to check them out, definitely look into them if you want to be involved in the worldwide sim racing community. And also to ButtKicker. You can find them at thebuttkicker.com. Make sure and check them out if you want to try and improve your racing rig with some more realism. Thanks to iRacing for putting us on IESN. Make sure and subscribe to the channel. Very easy to do so just by scrolling below the video on YouTube and clicking the big red button that says subscribe. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Ossian, Jay, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support the channel, make sure and check out our merchandise store as well. It's gsrc.storenv.com. We got a link in the description below. Next race is going to be at Barcelona. That'll be Tuesday, April 21st at 9 p.m. Eastern. So make sure and come back in a week's time for what should be a good one. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.